In this section, we are going to talk about the 7 rules of the metaverse, which means that metaverse to some extent has matured to that level where now individuals and institutions are making certain rules. The same way we have rules, policies, constitution, and everything else in the real world, we will have to do the same thing in the virtual world as well. Otherwise, it will be a complete chaos. Because just imagine that you can actually create a reality, and unless you kind of respect someone else's reality, it will create in the chaos, right? It will be the just imagine a real world without any policy, without any rules, without any laws, without anything. It will be a complete chaos, and it will be entirely different world. And the same things are now being used in the metaverse as well, or in the virtual reality as well. So let us find out that what are those 7 rules of the metaverse. Again, this is not I would say a hard coded rules. The rules might change, but these are certain things which many people have talked about, that there should be these rules to create a very, I would say, an equal or a very kind of a uh, free for all or kind of bias free kind of a metaverse. So let us find out what are those 7 rules. So according to Unity's Tony Parisi, there are 7 rules to metaverse. Number one, he says there is only one metaverse, which means if each institution is creating their own metaverse, which means it defeats the purpose of metaverse, right? Which means even Facebook can have its own metaverse, and for example, let's say Twitter can have its own metaverse, but it should be a possibility that a user who is there in the Facebook can actually teleport itself to the Twitter as well. They do not need to have a separate identity into the Facebook, and they do not need to have a separate identity to Twitter. It's exactly like a real world that whenever, so for example, you're going to a function, you do not have to be kind of carry a different identity there, and then you carry a different identity when you're going somewhere else. So it's like creating a one metaverse. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose, right? Then it's just like a game that you're playing the game, right? Or those kind of silo kind of a things, right? So he's saying, or he has envisioned, that metaverse should be only one, and if there is not one, then it should be there. Interoperability will be there. So we'll talk in detail about interoperability in metaverse as well. The metaverse should be for everyone. So the second rule says that it should be for everyone. Why he is saying that it should be for everyone, which means that it should not be that much costly that it becomes I would say a lobby, or I would say a group of certain highly influenced people, right? Which means that the vision of this metaverse is also to bring down the cost to that level where many people can afford it, right? Obviously, it has a headset charge, it has everything else, the cost associated with it, but gradually the cost and everything has to be there, so that becomes for everyone, and it should not be biased. We should not be racist, it should not be gender oriented, that okay, this can enter into metaverse, this institution or this person cannot enter into it. So it should be free for everyone, just like world, right? In the real world, everybody is welcome, everybody lives happily. There are certain issues, that's okay, but everybody has its own space. So again, number 3, nobody controls the metaverse, which means that as nobody controls the real universe, nobody should control the metaverse, which means that even though there could be different institutions which could be kind of controlling their own ecosystem, but the same institution cannot control the entire metaverse. There cannot be a monopoly or duopoly. It has to be an open and fair play for everyone else. And the user should have a choice that where they want to go. It cannot be restrictive. Fourth rule is the metaverse should always remain open and interoperable, which means again it reiterating the same fact that metaverse cannot be closed, cannot be kind of segregated by someone, that okay, if you are a user of this, then only you can enter, otherwise it will be of no use. There is a high entry fee, nobody will experience it, because currently as we move forward, experience and more user base is the key to getting into metaverse, and it has to be interoperable. As I was talking about, interoperability means that, for example, a user of Facebook should be able to go to Twitter without opening a lot of different accounts. There will be a separate single identity, just like your social security number or your national identification number. You can just carry that and you can go anywhere else. So that is something that he is hinting at. And then the metaverse is hardware agnostic or independent, which means it should not happen that if you buy the hardware of this particular brand or by this particular company, then only you can experience metaverse. Which means that anybody of any company should have the ability to have the same or the similar experience. I'm sure that if someone has a better, I would say, kind of glasses or high quality glasses, they might be able to see a different experience versus a headset with a lesser quality of the lens. But that does not mean that that it will restrict the user to actually experience metaverse. So again, it has to be hardware agnostic, which means it doesn't matter whether it is a high-end device or a low-end device. The individual should be able to access the metaverse using any kind of compatible device. And again, the metaverse is a network, which means metaverse is not about one institution or one individual. It's a network. It's just like a social media network, right? Where different things are getting combined. For example, if you look at Meta or earlier Facebook, it has advertisement, it has about your different games, it has about your social network, it has about promotion, it is about many other things, right? And that's how you started feeling immersed into that. And that he's talking about, that metaverse cannot be cannot work in a silo. It has to be a network of different things and different institutions and different individuals. And again, metaverse is the internet. This is the ultimate thing. He is saying metaverse should be equal or equivalent to the internet, which means if you want to search anything, you should be able to search on the metaverse as well. For example, let's say the way we search on Google or any other internet browser, we should be able to search that in metaverse as well. And just imagine, instead of searching something on your laptop, on your mobile phone, on Google, if you search something on the virtual space, you will be able to actually visualize, or you will be able to see what exactly that looks like. For example, if you're just kind of searching for what is an apple, let's say on Google, so you will get a lot of definitions. But just imagine if you are searching what is an apple on a metaverse, you will be able to actually see in a 3D model. You can just hold, you can just turn around, and you can see what apple looks like and what it feels like, maybe in a later, once we have the haptic feedback. But again, that's a different thing. So, but yeah, these are 7 rules which Tony Parisi has talked about in the rules of the metaverse. Ideally, anybody who is creating the metaverse or whoever is will be working in this metaverse should adhere or should actually keep these principles into their mind whenever designing something in metaverse, because that will make metaverse inclusive, bias free. There's no racism, no cruelty, no bad language, nothing. So these are like good principles to have while working or while designing for the metaverse. In this section, we are going to talk about different layers of metaverse. So let us find out how many and what are those layers of metaverse. So there are 3 layers of metaverse. The first one is virtual world, second one is intersection, and third one is a physical world, which means that the metaverse, where the interaction happens, it is between the virtual world and the physical world, right? That's what I have been telling, that unless there is an intersection or there is a marry of virtual and physical world, it will not look like a realistic, I would say, a representation of someone's life, right? Because in our day-to-day lives, we see a lot of things around us, right? Like laptop, like table, like chair, like refrigerator, sofas, everything else, right? People around us, our parents, our children, spouse, every one around us, right? So unless we can mimic, obviously with their consent, into the virtual world, it will feel as if we are alone there. Totally depends whether you want to be alone there or with your family. It's your choice, but there should be a, I would say, choice to do those things in the virtual world as well. So in metaverse, there are 3 layers, which is one is a virtual world where we talk about metaverse, there is a physical world as we live in, and there is an intersection. So now let us further see that the virtual world is called the ecosystem. The intersection is where the interaction happens between physical world and virtual world. So the physical world, you have a headset, you have a hand gears to do certain action. It gets translated into virtual world through your interaction. And the physical world is about infrastructure. So in ecosystem, it's about user generated content. So user is you. You can also generate your content. When I say content, you can have your assets, you can have your games, you can have any content, you can write blogs, you can create a music, you can create anything, right? So it is user generated content. Then ecosystem is about economics. which means the pricing, the NFTs, and the tokens that we talked about. Then artificial intelligence, which means that what will be the next step? It has to be intelligent system, right? It can't be dumb system where, for example, if you're trying to go to the left and the system is designed that it does not detect that you are going to the left, right? It detects that you have to go to right. So some kind of common things that we do, right? While we are speaking, we are using our body language. So how are we doing that? And those kind of things, right? So there has to be an, I would say, an intelligent machine, which has to be an artificial intelligence, obviously, by reading a lot of data, by tracking a lot of things, by using different models, we create a system which is intelligent. And since it is a computer generated intelligence, hence we call it artificial intelligence. In interaction, it's about immersive user experience. So how do we get immersive user experience? Through AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, or extended reality, which is an umbrella term for everyone. So these immersive user experience is very much important in metaverse. Then it's about digital twins. So what is a digital twin? Digital twin means that you have a copy or you have a twin of your own self into a digital world as well. It's a personality that you create for yourself in metaverse. You would want him or her to dress like you, to think like you, to behave like you, to have an attitude like you as well. So you just create a twin of yourself into the digital world or in the metaverse so that you start feeling, so that even the digital avatar which is there into the metaverse system feels exactly the way you feel, behaves the way you feel, which means that whatever you are in your real life, you can actually translate that into your virtual life as well. And as we are talking about artificial intelligence, the system will start adapting to your personal, I would say, style or your personality. So that is also a possibility in digital twins. Content creation interface, which means that if you want to create something, you cannot just create something into a metaverse, right? You need a lot of coding and technologies. So it has to be a simple drag and drop kind of a thing so that you can create content for yourself and also for everyone around in metaverse. So hence content creation interface has to be there. Let's talk about infrastructure, where we talk about blockchain and the storage, which means that metaverse and web 3.0 will rely heavily on blockchain, and NFT is a use case on blockchain. And then it also requires storage. Why storage? Because there will be many people who will be storing their avatars, their digital assets, everything onto the network, right? Even if you whatever you upload on Facebook currently, it goes and gets stored somewhere, right? On a server. Similarly, even in metaverse, just imagine how complex it will be and how much will be the size of each content that gets created on metaverse. So hence we need the storage for that as well. Communication and network, which means that in order to do so many activities as at a, I would say, much faster rate, we need a better network, right? So hence everybody's talking about that 5G network will be one of the most and the essential component of metaverse and web 3.0. It will definitely work on I would say 3G or 4G as well, but 5G is something will give a seamless and a faster and a connected experience, because web 3.0 is more about distributed and a blockchain based thing. So hence it will require a lot of functioning to happen simultaneously, and the current, I would say, 4G or 3G that we have does not support that. So hence we are looking forward to the 5G, which will actually fuel up this metaverse and web 3.0. And then we are talking about computational power, which means that if you're doing so many things in one go, each user is creating huge amount of data, right? With your actions, whatever you're purchasing, whatever you're doing, you're creating a huge amount of data, and that requires a lot of computational power, because unless you have a high amount of computational power, artificial intelligence model will not work, right? Because the models will have to capture the data, analyze it, and then take actions accordingly. So hence these are three layers, but let us go much detailed into these layers, and let us find out what are those 7 layers, which is again an extension of these 3 layers, but then it is more detailed. So the 7 layers of metaverse, if you go in detail, the first one is experience, second one is discovery, third one is creator economy, then it is spatial computing, then it is decentralization, then there's human interface, and then at the core is an infrastructure. Infrastructure we spoke about in the last slide. So if we talk about experience, it's about game, a social sports, theater, shopping, everything that you can experience is a part of an experience, like dating that we talked about is also part of an experience. Discovery, ad networks, through which, for example, search engine optimization, through which you can discover the content, discover people, will be part of one of the layers so that you can discover and search something. So ad network, social curation, ratings, stories, agents. So those kind of things will be part of the discovery. Then you talk about the creator economy. It will be design tools as we discussed, the content creation interface so that you can create a content for yourself. You can design yourself. Asset market where you can sell your NFTs, arts, and then your other collectibles that you can sell. Then workflow, commerce. Then about spatial computing, which is 3D engines, VR, AR, XR, multitasking user interface, geospatial mapping, which can actually locate where you are and where you have to go. So it gives you a relative, I would say, a distance as well. Then we talk about decentralization, it will be edge computing. Edge computing is something we are going to cover in the next course. But for everyone's overview, uh, edge computing, I would say, is an advanced version of cloud computing, right? So what edge computing does is that it brings the servers or the internet tools or the storage devices or the processing devices nearest to the place where the machines are being used. So in Internet of Things, these edge computing will be used because everything if goes to cloud, centralized in somewhere else, it takes some time. There is a latency, right? So edge computing reduces that latency. But again, I'm not going in detail about it. I just wanted to give an overview what edge computing is. So hence edge computing will lead to decentralization. Then we are talking about AI agents. Then we are talking about blockchain. So these will provide decentralization. Then we're talking about human interface. So mobile phone, smart glass, wearables, haptics, gestures, voice, neural. These things will create a human interface, right? And then we talk about infrastructure, which is again 5G, as I spoke about, Wi-Fi, cloud, then GPUs, and then we are talking about materials. So these are 7 layers of the metaverse, which will be important and which will be core to each of the metaverse experience. So first we talked about the 3 layers and then we bifurcated it more to understand what are the 7 layers of the metaverse. And we also explained that with a few examples that what do we mean by experience, discovery, creator economy, spatial computing, decentralization, human interface, and infrastructure. So that's all of the 7 layers. See you in the next chapter. Till the time, take care and see you there. Thank you.